morning everybody. It is 30th of October. Now, yesterday, bear with me, I'm just clipping on this mic. So, yesterday, a couple of days ago, there was some discussion on Roy Sutherland's Barracuda channel, Ready Room, about layer lines and things on 3D prints. And I think there's maybe not as much knowledge on what causes it, because I appreciate that a lot of people don't do as much, don't dabble in 3D printing or design as much as some of the others of us do. So I was making an argument that layer lines are just a factor of 3D printing. They're just a fact of life when you're 3D printing. And I maintain that they are. You can orient stuff and whatever you like, and you're still going to get problems. Not problems, but you're still going to get layer lines. They're very difficult to mitigate. So this is an aircraft. This is a model I'm currently building. It's a Hasegawa F111. These wings have been designed by myself and 3D printed. Hopefully you can see that they're currently they've been painted and given a light coat and some polishing, and hopefully you can see they're very, very smooth. Now, they didn't come out of the printer very, very smooth. They came out with layer lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch to the my slicer and show you the parts in the slicer as I prepared them for printing. So this is in Lychee, and you can see the wing has been bought into Lychee and oriented like so for supporting. This is all medium supports here. You can see the leading edge of the wing is more or less horizontal, which gives me this cutout root section here, and the trailing edge where I've mounted, done rows of medium supports. So you can see there's a medium support on each side of the root section, and then a row of them up the trailing edge, very, very close together. So to get a pair of wings, simply all I would do to get a pair of wings, just to show how this works, is I would duplicate the selection, which will generate another wing like so, and then with that wing go over here to the mirror plane, choose a plane, mirror it. Now I have a pair of wings, a port and a starboard wing, assuming that port and starboard wings are identical. They're just mirror images of each other, so that's how simple it is to do that. So I can delete that and go back to where we were. And I'll move that back to the middle a little bit. So yeah, could I mitigate layer lines even more than this? Yes, I could probably play around with some tilting. So if I remove all of the supports like so, that's all of the supports gone. You could probably mitigate them more if I went to rotate, and you can play with all this sorts of things like rotating the wing, you know, different ways. Obviously the downside is that then you'll be adding supports along areas like this checked area here is technically the area where you need to add supports. However, you will be needing to add more. So, you know, you would need to add a row of supports along here, and then probably some more rows further up, or however you think it should be done, in order to support this large overhang from this vertical part here. So there are sort of pros and cons of how you support a wing. I choose vertical because I know I'm going to get layer lines. It's the easiest way to print, and it results in pretty much attach points for the supports in areas that I know are going to be very easy to deal with. So if I remove all the supports again, there we go, and I can go back to vertical like that. So yeah, that's how I prefer to do that. So that's just showing you how these wings are supported. So we will go back to my overhead view. So these are the wings that came off the printer. What I've done is removed all of the I've removed them from their supports. I've gently sanded the areas of the supports, so now there's a smooth pair of wings. Hopefully you can see, if I catch these in the light, there you go. So you can see there are, catch it in the light, you can see there are layer lines up here, and you can feel them with your finger quite obviously. It's pretty much the same. You can just make them out on camera here, although they do travel right down here, and again you can feel them with your finger, but it leaves a very slightly rough surface. So on the other wing, so like I say, there you go. There's a pair of wings for my F111 models. You can see the detail very clearly there. So you can see the detail very clearly that I've sort of engraved into the surface for these wings. But I've applied a very, very light guide coat to show what happens when you sand. So although these layer lines are very visible, they're not that big. So all I'm going to use is some water, like so, and this is just some 800 grit wet and dry. People don't seem to use wet and dry anymore like they used to, which I think is a shame, because it's still very, very useful stuff. People seem to focus on sanding sticks and the like more than wet and dry, and I think you should still have a good stock of these sorts of things in your model kit. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this guide coat and the 800 to show you exactly the pattern of the layer lines in here. So just wet it, and I'm just going to give it a very light sand. And the beauty of the guide coat is it immediately highlights. It shows you where all these layer lines are. And as you can see, they're right across some of the detail on here. It doesn't matter, because these layer lines are a couple of thousandths of an inch deep, and the detail is probably 4 to 5 times deeper than that. So in removing these panel lines, removing these layer lines, you're not going to impact the detail to any significant degree. It's still going to be very visible. It's still going to take a wash. Like I said, on this one here that's been built, sanded and painted, you can see that all that detail, these wings have been treated. They're dead smooth now, but all the detail is still completely visible. So all you're doing then is taking a piece of this wet and dry, and the beauty of a guide coat for this is that you can see how little work it requires. A little bit more there on this. you can see how little work it actually requires in real life to smooth them out. So again, there you go. So I'll just work over the surface now. Now, pretty much, in all seriousness, if you're doing a matte camouflaged finish, apart from giving it a wash with some soapy water, that's done. If you're doing a sort of glossy finish or something, you know, more along those lines, you can polish it. This is a bit of 2000 grit God Hands polishing block. And that's it. That's basically that wing now is ready to paint and finish. So I've gone from having the layer lines, and when you're doing sort of if you're not doing it for a video, you don't really need the guide coat, if we're honest. Sand the other side of the wing, giving it a light sand there, and you can immediately see how obvious the layer lines become. They become very, very obvious to the naked eye. The guide coat was largely for the purposes of the video, just to show it. So this is the underside of the wing, that same wing. The layer lines are largely in the same place, but again, you can see I catch it, and you can see they are now largely gone. There's a very, very light bit here, but they're now largely gone, and that wing is completely prepared and ready for painting. So anyway, that's just a short primer on what layer lines look like, and how you can deal with them to eventually get to the stage where you're producing parts like these F111 wings here that I've designed and 3D printed for the kit. And it's just to show that you get to that stage. It's really easy to get to that stage, and stuff that can look fairly challenging coming off of the printer is actually not that challenging to deal with at all in real life. So I hope that's some kind of help, and I hope that's some kind of sort of primer for people who are wondering about 3D printing and how it works. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope it's of some use to you.